Hey guys, Dwayne here. Wanted to talk a little bit about how to persevere when you're trying to co-parent. Now, the first thing I want to say is that, if you're dealing with a narcissist, you already know that co-parenting really isn't an option, but that's kind of the buzzword we all lean towards because it's what's supposed to happen. It's what we're supposed to be doing. It can be really hard to deal with the daily barrage of issues that just keep coming. It seems like no matter what happens, every day we turn around, something new is coming up and we're having to deal with it. So the first thing that happens is we get used to the drama. And we were also used to it when we were in the relationship and we were dealing with it on a daily basis. Now, when you're with the person, it's a little bit different because they go through different phases, and in some instances, they're trying to actually appease you so that you feel like you have a little bit of a break on the roller coaster, when in fact you really don't. There was a few things in the beginning for me that actually helped me persevere through this. When I went through my initial stage of being just shocked and dismayed at what was happening, and then I realized, I didn't know that I was dealing with what I suspect to be a narcissist, but or somebody with a personality disorder, but I knew something was wrong, and I also knew that she was trying to break me. So the thing with that, when you finally realize that, or when you start thinking putting that thought in your head that this is all by design to try to get you to give up, it can make you really angry, and it can make you basically kind of like get stubborn and say, you will not break me. I think that's important because it gives you something in the early stages. It gives you something to hang on to, right? Because you're dealing with a situation and you're not entirely sure what's going to happen. You're still in the fear stage. You're trying to wrap your head around the smear campaigns and the triangulation and the issues with your kids and the manipulation of your kids. And you don't really know what's going to happen. But you do know that if you give up, you've lost completely. The thing is, I knew that I had to stay in the fight to help my kids. If I gave up and allowed her to unchecked move with the kids out of state, my ability to interact and be a father to them would be gone. And I also felt very strongly that if that happened, it would have a negative impact on the rest of their lives, and they would be dealing with and reeling from this for years to come. So for me, it was important to stay in the fight to ensure that that didn't happen. Now, I have to be honest with you guys, there was a period of time, especially early on within before the divorce was final, where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Taking the stereotype of what typically happens, right? I felt that there was probably a strong possibility that she would get full custody, and there was a chance that she might be able to get the approval, I guess, for lack of a better word, to leave the state with the kids. Now, my entire fight was to try to stop and prevent that. Okay, so that's the first part whenever you're trying to persevere through all of this. And then, once you actually get through that initial stage and you realize that they typically don't just, unless you've done something to really validate it or you just give up, typically the court will not just arbitrarily give the other parent, full custody of the kids. There has to be some extenuating circumstances to really force that issue. And unless we've done that, it's really not going to happen. The problem is that once we get to that point, we think that everything is going to be fine, right? We think, okay, woof, yay, we got through that phase and things will calm down. And as you guys know, if you're in the beginning stages of this is to let you know this is what you're more than likely going to deal with. And if you've already been through this, then you know that it isn't, once you get to this point and you think things are calm, it's not. There's going to be this ongoing, continuing drama that you just can't seem to get out of. Again, for me, I rolled back to the previous things I was talking about that, I knew she was trying to break me, or in my opinion, I felt she was trying to break me, and I just refused to give up. Now, it was hard. It has not been easy. This has not been an easy experience at all. Now, I've made a lot of victories, and that's the next thing, is you have to be able to recognize those victories, right? And as you start having them, and in the beginning you don't, but as you start having victories and you can see them, and then you can get reassurance that you're actually making progress, it really helps. But the thing is, in the beginning, you don't have those, right? You have your kids who are fighting with you. You're trying to set those ground rules, and you're trying to, be a good parent. And you're butting heads with your kids and you're butting heads with your ex and you're trying to figure everything out. But fundamentally, the issue is just staying on target and not giving up, not allowing the other person to break you. And then what happens is well, it's two phases. The first part of the phase is just sheer determination. You just keep focused at it and you keep going. The second part is you start making progress. You start either building that relationship with your child, or things start getting better, either at school or maybe the way they're acting with you at your house. The thing is once you do start seeing some victories, it really starts to give you hope for the future. You really start feeling like you can get through this. And once you get to the point where you're actually having good interactions on a reoccurring basis with your kids, if you allow that to sink in, right? If you allow those moments to overshadow everything else that's going on, it really helps. Now, that's not to say that it's easy, because I'll tell you guys, I've had improvements, but I got so focused on what I felt I lost or what I felt the ex was getting away with that I didn't see them. And those little subtle victories that I was making on a daily basis, or at least 50% of the time, right? I wasn't necessarily seeing, because I was trying to expect for the full big picture solution, the full victory. And I was losing sight of those little victories that I was making, those little incremental victories. And bottom line, you just have to have the belief in the reality and the hope that your future and the future of your kids is going to get better. Now, I'm not saying that you can fix this overnight, and I'm not saying that there won't be any issues, because there will be. It's an inevitable fact. We're dealing with a situation that's really complex and destructive, and our kids are doing the exact same thing. And bottom line, guys, is that's the focus on this, right? That's whenever you're having those bad days and you're feeling like things aren't working, you just have to look at the bigger picture, the future, and not so much focus on what's happening in this particular moment, in this particular second, because that can get completely overwhelming, because it is overwhelming. Right? This is not an easy situation. It's not a pleasant situation. I've said this before, but this is probably the hardest thing that you will ever deal with in your life, ever. It's an ongoing situation that just doesn't ever seem to stop, and you have somebody who's constantly poking at you and constantly causing problems. But the deal is as you progress with this and you get better with it and you learn how to take that power back, I like to say that, but it's really true. Every time I got angry, right, I was giving her power. Every time I got depressed, I was giving her power. Every time I would get mad and I would go off on my children for some issue, either something that they did or something that was, combination of their mom or them, it was giving her power. It's like, as soon as I got to the point, and when I say as soon, that's not to say that it was simple. Once I made the realization or the discovery that taking her out of the equation, which sounds bizarre because how do you do that, made a significant improvement overall. I know in the beginning stages of this, it is really tough. It is really tough, and you know that. Just try to take some of the stuff I was talking about and just think about it, right? And think about trying to gauge your little victories, and you have to choose your battles wisely, and you can't do everything overnight, and it's a balance. I've talked about that before. It's a balance of how you interact with your kids now. And it's not, I've had to make compromises and do things and interact with them in ways that I didn't really think was the right way to go. And I had to acknowledge the situation I was in and adapt to it to be able to make constructive changes so that I could actually connect with my children, get those little victories, and keep moving forward to get, to basically get through the day. That is the issue. The issue is whenever we start seeing those improvements with our children. There's not as much active shenanigans that are going on. Well, let me back up. I think there are active shenanigans going on, but the difference is I'm not taking the bait. I'm not responding. I've implemented my hybrid no contact, and I don't allow her to affect me the way she used to. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this video up. If you wanna add some of your own ways how you've been able to persevere through this, do that in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Take care.